You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's head to our next discussion now. 29 years after the late MKO Abiola declared himself president of Nigeria in Ekpetedo, Lagos, to reclaim his June 12, 1993 mandate, the area has become a part of Nigeria's democratic struggle. In 2018, the government moved Democracy Day from the 29th of June to June 12, or 29th of May rather, to June 12, to remind Nigerians of the free and fairest election annulled in the country, in which the acclaimed winner and Nigerians were denied their rights and their choice. In this year's Democracy Day broadcast, President Muhammadu Buhari described the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election as the worst of our leadership. The president promised a legacy of a free, fair, and transparent process in next year's general election to mark the 30th anniversary of the historic election won by MKO Abiola. Activists across the country have emphasized that in line with the vision and memory of MKO Abiola, Nigerians must get it right, especially as it concerns the election of credible leaders with the interest of the Nigerian people at heart. So joining us in the studio is human rights activist and public affairs commentator Abiodun Shomi. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
I'm pleased to be here.
Great, you're welcome. Right.
So, the June 12 came and it was a big struggle in Nigeria. I want you to try to see whether you can really draw parallels between how MKO Abiola emerged and how Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged last week. You know, during the convention in Jos of the SDP, there were different kinds of horse trading that eventually led to MKO emerging. Very unlikely at one point that he would emerge, but eventually he did. And the same story we had last week. Can you give us some kind of, draw some kind of parallel, as you can recall?
Well, interestingly, when you go back and think about the convention, I think in 1992 in Jos, and today is this very Ashaju's one is 2022. So
not far from Jos.
Exactly.
Not far from Jos also. Very, very interesting, and the dynamics are in fact a lot similar. The horse trading at a point in time, many people thought Abiola won't get it because some people constituted themselves into cabal, decided to truncate that process of his emergence, and eventually, with courage, with hope, you know, and that audacity, he was able to pull it through. There were a lot of horse trading behind the scene. So also when you look at the way Asiwaju Tinubu emerged as the flag bearer of APC in the next election, you know, a lot of maneuvers by powerful people who wanted to derail the process. Is it right from the dilly-dallying over signing the Electoral Act up to the issue of consensus being brought in, which in its own, you know, by its own admission as consensus is anti-democratic. If you don't have all the aspirants agreeing to it, and then up to the point when different people were being, a particular person was being pronounced by the chairman of the party as consensus candidate. But that didn't go down well with members, and particularly with the governors. And eventually, just like in the case of Jos in 1992, we saw, you know, the spirit of democracy, you know, rearing its head and then triumph over all those maneuvers. And that threw up Tinubu. And we can see clearly from the votes that he's obviously the most popular preferred candidate of the APC. If a consensus candidate had emerged, we would never have known that, in fact, Tinubu is more popular than any other consensus candidate. So it's quite a very credible process and transparent process that produced Tinubu. So also the same thing, you know, with how Abiola emerged. The process was credible, was very transparent in 1992, and at the end of the day, he became, you know, so popular he emerged as, the most preferred candidate. So also, when you also take into account what happened thereafter, there were discussions about Christian-Muslim tickets. In 1992, that Abiola should pick a Christian. I remember that at a point in time, he did pick Pascal Bafiao, as his running mate. Later, he changed his mind and he went for a Muslim ticket. Because at the end of the day, Abiola was seen to be very competent, very credible. He has a national appeal. And what matters to people is to deliver. And democracy is a game of numbers. So, interestingly, again, we now find ourselves again in 2022. Those issues are now again being discussed. How it will be resolved, one way or the other, depends on the party and the candidate.
Philosophers have always said that life is about perspective, especially if you look at from Plato all the way up to even the 18th century, 19th century, Hume, Voltaire, all of them, Locke. It's how you look at it. If we had voted in 1993, people called it Muslim ticket, but people didn't vote Muslim ticket. They voted Nigerian ticket. So why is it that we will have to put into something what is not there?
Oh, interestingly, when you look at what is going on, you understand that when it suits us, we use religion, ethnic, anything, to curry favors, to our own side. People are hardly talking about a Christian-Muslim anomaly. Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state.
Yes.
We don't have two religions in Nigeria. What happens to the rest religion? What happens to the traditional religion? Nobody is talking about that. We are supposed to be a secular state where religion should not be a primary consideration. When it comes to issues like this, it should be competence, and being able to build a cohesive country, being able to unify the whole country. That should be the major issues and your democratic credentials. But those who are trying to lobby, for the vice presidential slot, choose to go to their own corners and then look at what can I use to fight for what I want. The bottom line is, in the Southwest, particularly, I don't think people worry about Muslim ticket or Christian ticket. People don't worry about that. What many people are concerned about is your competence, your ability to deliver. Are you a Democrat? Will your election, deepen democracy? Will you be able to, create wealth, reduce poverty? Those are issues which people are concerned about, not actually because you are a Christian or you're a Muslim. After all, we used to have a governor in Lagos, that one way or the other, his regime was found to have dealt with a pastor or a reverend in the interdenominational faith service in Alausa there.
Yeah.
That was not a Muslim. If he had been a Muslim, people would say, oh, because he's a Muslim, he's doing that. So I don't think it's about Muslim or Christian. It's about getting the right people, competent people in post. For instance, if you don't mind, let me just pull out something. When Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State, when he became the governor, he brought in Oshibajo. Oshibajo was not the only competent lawyer in Nigeria. Oshibajo is a Christian. He didn't consider religion. What he considered is competence. And that happened in so many appointments which he made. So at this stage of our development, we are an emerging democracy. We should be placing more emphasis on competence, than these issues that are not germane, to the development of our country.
Well, the way it's going, maybe after the Muslim ticket debate, maybe others will begin to talk. Traditional rulers will come up with their own and say, "Hey, it's Yoruba Kanuri ticket."
It's not impossible.
Or the Igbo ticket, something like that. But anyway, but that's on the lighter side. Now, this week, a running mate has to emerge based on INEC, schedules and so on. But all of the horse trading going on, how challenging would it be? From everything we have seen, a lot of analysts have said that it would be more challenging for the APC party to come up with the running mate than the PDP, because the APC is coming from the south, that is dominated with by Christians. So but the other side, the PDP is going to choose somebody from the south. But how challenging would it be to come up with a president, a running mate rather?
Oh yes. When you just need to look at the support given to Ashwaju from the north.
Yeah.
No doubt, many people were influential to secure that kind of victory, and you cannot ignore people like Ganduje, Senator Abu Ibrahim, even
Kashim
Shettima. You cannot ignore them. These are very
even the Progressive Governors Forum.
Precisely, these are very powerful people, very influential people that played, major roles in the emergence of Ashwaju. So it's bound to consider a lot of issues. It's not about Christian or Muslim issue. If it's about that, then you'll be talking about Solomon Lalong, who in any case did not even support Ashwaju. Simon Lalong, who in any case did not, support Ashwaju. We knew he supported. But the fact of the matter is, it will be very challenging, very difficult. So we should not even complicate it with the issue of religion. Already as it is, the issue should be about numbers, because democracy is a game of numbers. How best would he be able to pick a candidate who will deliver the votes needed, to ensure that he emerges, as the next president of the country? I think that will play a major role in his mind. I'm not sure he will be thinking about Christian Muslim issue. No, not mundane issues. You'll be thinking about how do we get the votes, to make sure.
How do we win? Especially when we know that there are a number of permutations that you can go for going forward.
Yes.
As the election is now in the north, we have NNPP as a political party. I see NNPP as a non-ideological rebirth of Aminu Kano's PRP and NEPO and all of that, except that this does not have the kind of bandwagon that Aminu Kano has, but it's going to create the tripod of Kano politics between Shekarau, Ganduje, and Kwakwanso. So, and this may spill off into Rigawa and paddling to Kano. I don't think they will go too far, maybe a little Katsina, because they are actually, NNPP is actually going to feed off the dissentient elements in the major parties to fight for them. And those who are outliers, who are on the fringe, cannot get the main votes, but they are going to create some problems. So when you are picking the vice presidential candidate, you must be very conscious of the fact that you need a person who can galvanize the votes. It's about practicality. It's about winning the election. So as I said when we were having a conversation with the governor of Nasarawa State, do you want to do the quote-unquote proper thing and lose, or you want to do the controversial thing
and win the election? Obviously, no politician would want to contest an election and lose. So they are bound to take a lot of factors in. If you look at NNPP currently, Kwankwaso can't just easily be pushed aside. They have to consider him. He's a major factor in Kano, in Kano State.
Yes.
And already they're trying to reach out with very weak parties, to try and form an alliance. That would not make a major difference, to the issue, but that could split the vote. And the primary concern of any candidate, either of the PDP or APC, is to see how they can get, like Sam correctly said, galvanize, the entire resources, human resources, and get all the maximum votes you can get from Kano, because it's a huge state with a huge population. And same thing will go, I can't see the spillover moving beyond Northwest. I don't see Kwankwaso making an impact in the Middle Belt.
But it's a big pot of Jigawa, Kaduna, and Katsina.
And Kano is quite strategic, because upon there is when a presidential candidate that wins Kano and wins Lagos at the same time, you stand a very good chance when it comes to the numbers of votes, as much as you need the spread, but it also goes alongside in the vote. Let's look at going forward, Nigeria, where we are right now, if you speak to Nigerians on the street, what kind of president do you want? They make a lot of comments that you begin to feel that Nigerians, they're not asking for too much sometimes. Just someone who will care, someone who will, and all of that. How challenging or what kind of a president are we looking at that fits into the timing that we are right now? Yes.
If you just go to the street and talk to many Nigerians, they're not concerned about many of the issues people are talking about today. They are concerned about security, unemployment, and jobs. That is what people are worried about. They want to share out of the Nigerian prosperity, make sure they are stakeholders within their own economy, and therefore you need a conducive environment within the democratic structures, to achieve that. And within that context, people are thinking about experience. Who is experienced? Who has proven experience in creating jobs, creating employment, creating prosperity from poverty or from a very poor situation. That's one major issue. Who has a democratic credential, whose election will probably deepen democracy. That's another matter, because you can't have someone who is anti-democratic or who does not share in the democratic project, trying to develop democracy. This is not about midwifing it anymore. You need to develop it from where we have developed all the democratic institutions, ensure that the rule of law prevails, and who is best able to do that is another matter. In my view, when again the issue of experience comes into it, who has done it before, who has used the instruments of the law, to develop democracy. Permit me, if you don't mind, let me remind you of one incident. In fact, in relation to Asiwaju Tinubu, when the then President, Olusegun Obasanjo, decided to withhold the funds, the Lagos State's funds over his disagreement, with what Tinubu perceived to be his right to do what he was doing. He decided to challenge it in court. He won in court. And meanwhile, he saw the opportunity of the local government funds withheld, as an opportunity, to generate wealth in Lagos State. And if I can remember correctly, I think the IGR had to move up from 600 million to something about 20, 30 billion naira. So these are the kind of people who can think outside the box, and then use their own experience to develop the country. If you take another issue, the issue of electricity, who has tried to resolve the electricity outside, the comforts of comfort zone of all of us relying on federal government to generate it. Again, it's Tinubu who decided to, engage Enron, I think, in independent electricity project, even to generate electricity for Lagos State. So it's quite clear that people are looking forward to a destabilized Nigerian who is able to deliver on promises, able to deliver prosperity, so that we all can be stakeholders and share in the prosperity of our dear country. Those are the issues for many people. The issue of security is there. It's clear to many people that, look, we need to reconfigure, the security architecture of the country, and then try and make our security services to deliver more than what they are doing currently. There is no doubt that that can be achieved. You can, with any candidate there who enjoys the support of the people, you are likely going to solve half of the problem, because a lot of information that are necessary are not being passed on, to the security agencies by those who are close to it. But once people enjoy the confidence of whoever has been elected, you are likely going to see an improvement in that, and with time, the security services will be more efficient in what they are doing because of the necessary tools that they need to do the job. Don't forget, you cannot order for a tank today and get it today. It probably will take about 2 years or something. So some of the weapons coming in now might help the next president to be able to deal decisively with the security situation. Because democracy cannot thrive on insecurity. It has to thrive, in a secured environment.
Yeah, talk about his capacity to build institutions and to rally people to his force. Because there are so many things he tried to do as governor that were resisted in the center, whether it was local government reforms, whether it was power reforms, whether it was security reforms, whether it was in the area of democracy, where he tried to ensure that all votes counted, and it's innovation. And last year, I think it was at the Governors Forum, held a meeting and resolved that they were going to send their people to Lagos to come and take tutorials on how Lagos was able to make it. Tell me how this now serves as an opportunity and platform. He being a president, how that itself can help in making Nigeria what he made Lagos to be.
Oh, no doubt in my mind. Anyone that governs Lagos successfully can govern Nigeria. I will tell you why. Lagos is the 5th largest economy in Africa. Even though Lagos is just a state in Nigeria, and the Lagos economy is bigger than so many economies in Africa, and it has huge challenges. I can give you an example. When Tinubu became the governor in 1999, Lagos was faced with huge refuse problem. Nobody remembers that anymore. Yes. That we used to have all our roads, cut into two by refuse and all that. He came in and thought about what to do to deal with the problem, the environmental challenges and all that. And he was able to do that successfully. Today, the issue of refuse is no more a major problem for us in Lagos, whereas it's still a problem in some other states. And I remember clearly that some governors came to Lagos. They sent some people to Lagos to try and understand what they did. And the Lagos model is what has been copied by many states, including in Southwest here, on how to dispose refuse. Yes, it may not be perfect, but it was a good step in the right direction. It took away the refuse from the streets. And then they established recycling plants and all that. And that is a good model. If you look at the other issues in terms of the creation of local government, what's the essence of it? You need somebody who believes in democracy, to develop democracy. It's all about, look, Lagos is exploding, population-wise. So many millions of people are moving into Lagos. We need to ensure that government is taking, right to the grassroots, so that people in the grassroots can feel the importance of government. So he decided to create local council development areas, which has not been declared illegal, but incoherent, because the National Assembly is yet to approve it. Obasanjo decided that he won't have that. Whether it is the right of the people of Lagos State or not does not matter to him. So he withheld the resources, he challenged it using the instrument of the law. He didn't take the law into his own hand and eventually triumphed. And eventually we can see the development in many parts of Lagos State. People even feel a sense of belonging because government seems to be closer to where they are. There are so many, if you go to Alimosho, there are so many areas where prior to Tinubu's emergence as the governor, they never saw a single sign of government, either in terms of road, water, or even removing refuse, even creation of health centers and all that. They never saw them. But today the story is different. Government is closer to the people, and his own actions as the governor of Lagos State actually deepened democracy. The rule of law, very sacrosanct, is the pillar upon which democracy will rest. He deepened that in so many ways by challenging things which he believed were anti-democratic. So it's expected that a Tinubu emerging as a president will help the country in so many areas. One is vast experience in dealing with a huge economy, the 5th largest economy in Africa, which is the Lagos economy, will come into play. His wide networks and acceptability within the international community, including the West African community, will help, to bring in the necessary foreign direct investment, into our economy. Of course, I understand that the issue of security is there. We need to ensure a peaceful environment for investors.
He created the Lagos Trust Fund when Lagos was very, very insecure.
He did. It's not only that, at a point in time, nobody could sleep in Lagos. People have forgotten that we used to have 50 people coming in Molue buses, armed robbers in the night. Nobody could sleep. But what did he do? He responded, created this trust fund, funded the Nigerian police force appropriately, even though that was not his responsibility. He took the money from Lagos, did that. We were able to get rid of all these criminals in a way that Lagos became a safe haven for investors. Even till today, Lagos is still safer than many parts of the country. And it's simply because he had a plan, implemented it, and those who became governors after him continued that trajectory. So exactly, you see the major problem which we are facing in the country today is security. Tinubu has the experience, is able to, reinvent, the wheel in order to ensure that we have a secured environment, because security is paramount for anybody to invest in any part of the country. So I have no doubt in my mind that experience matters, and your ability to create wealth matters, your ability to create employment. Otherwise, ask yourself, with millions of people moving into Lagos on a yearly basis, has Lagos been able to accommodate them in a way that jobs are being provided? Yes, not enough, because you can't cope with the number of people moving into Lagos. Social services are being created, schools are being provided, health centers are being provided. The Lagos State University Teaching Hospital is not overwhelmed. The General Hospital in Epe is not overwhelmed. So it takes a lot of planning to get this done. And whoever has done the master plan in Lagos, in my view, is a credible, experienced candidate that deserves to be the president of Nigeria.
And we are talking about master plan. He created master plans for every part of Lagos. There's Ikeja master plan. There is Ikoyi master plan. Yep. There's master plan for every part of Lagos.
It's not only, don't forget, how did we have Central Business District in Alausa?
Yes.
Many people have forgotten how Lagos Island used to be. Today, go to Lagos Island. How did we free the traffic in Lagos Island? We've forgotten what happened around Broad Street, Tinubu Fountain, and all that. So a lot of transformation happened in Lagos based on the master plan developed by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So we only need to go back into history, because many things have been taken for granted. People are beginning to forget, thinking that it's just the norm, things are happening in Lagos. It's not the norm. Plans were put in place, and these areas were developed, in a way that it has brought prosperity to Lagos, and they're still doing more in order to create wealth and prosperity. If you go to there is no state in Nigeria that can provide this kind of employment Lagos is providing. No matter what you do, whether it's a formal employment or informal employment, I stand to be challenged on this. And the economy in Lagos keeps growing day in, day out.
Of course. Now, let's talk about the issue of inter-party alliances. As all the horse tradings are going on, what kind of alliances are you seeing between all the various political parties, trying to talk to other political parties, wooing other political parties towards the election?
Well, we already have that happening. There's a group called Third Force of smaller parties. Some of them are just, permit me to use the word, mushroom parties, political parties without a single councillor. To me, is not a political party.
But although in the eyes of the law, they are all equal.
They are all equal, yes. And then they are coming together. Some of them are trying to march together with NNPP, led by Kwankwanzo. But I can't see the difference they will make, because you can't make any difference if you don't have followers. You don't have members of your political party. You're only existing theoretically. So what difference would that make? Then you have Labour Party. Labour Party is also another major party. It has, over a period of time, become useful for different purposes. I will tell you why. If you remember when Mimiko had his own, he was faced with the issue of not being able to, when he was rejected by his own political party, he moved into Labour. and through Labour, he became the governor. But since then, he was not able to repeat that feat, with Labour Party. The fact of the matter is, Mimiko was considered and not the vehicle, not the Labour Party. He was very popular, and that was why people voted for him, not because he was in Labour Party. You have a similar thing going on with Peter Obi again, moving into Labour Party. The PDP will suffer heavily for that because traditionally you have, the liberal Southeasterners normally voting PDP, and then you have the other party, ABGA, also there, benefiting, strong in Southeast. But with the Peter Obi emerging in Labour, would create problems for PDP. You are likely going to have the votes of the PDP, the liberal votes of the PDP in the Southeast, disappearing, being milked away by Labour Party in a way that PDP will be decimated, in my view. That's my considered opinion, in the Southeast, in the coming elections. And the same thing would happen to APC in the Southeast. APC won't get much vote in the Southeast. But when you come to the Southwest, you're likely going to have overwhelming votes for Tinubu in the Southwest, APC. In the South-South, they probably would split that with PDP. And then APC has a commanding status in the Northwest. Do not forget one thing, that Northwest and Southwest constitute almost 50% of the voting population. So because of that, you are likely going to see some alliances going on within by smaller parties, which will not yield so much fruit. But I cannot see PDP or APC going into an alliance, with other smaller parties, because it won't just make the difference. What can make the difference is if you have an alliance between ABGA and one party or the other, or Labour Party and the other, and one of the major political parties. That will make a difference, but that is most SDP. Unlikely going to happen. SDP will remain a fringe party. It has not made much impact, even in Southwest or Southeast or in the North. Yes, they keep showing up in elections, and in some cases, I can remember, I think in the last Osun election, they have some decent votes from the place, but it has failed to emerge as a leading political party in Nigeria. So we still have the issue of PDP, APC as major national party, whereas you have ABGA, as a regional party, and Labour Party trying to emerge. Labour was neither here nor there until we moved in. Yeah. Now trying to emerge as a regional party.
Well, you have to talk a little bit about the alliance between the Southwest and the North. The APC governors, when they came together, the Northern APC governors, when they said they wanted this thing to go to the South, from the outcome of the result, you saw that they were for Tinubu. When they said going to the South, that was for Tinubu. There's a significant thing which I reflected in my column today, that, and I said earlier on this show, that when Awo was around, he couldn't step across the chasm to the north. Abiola was able to step across the chasm, but he didn't get the buy-in of the northern elite. This is different. It is the northern elite that began by saying, we want this man. So what do you say about this in context of the candidacy going forward?
To be honest, I must admit that this is the first time in the history of the country where we have the North taking initiative to say, look, we want a particular candidate, not because of any other primordial sentiments beyond their relationship with him. They understand who he is, and they knew that Tinubu is a deep tribalized Nigerian. You just need to go back to the role he has played in the past. How did Nuhu Ribadu emerge as presidential candidate? Nuhu Ribadu, a northerner from Adamawa, I think.
Adamawa, yes.
Adamawa. How did he? It was Tinubu. He created the platform, the political party, and then offered it to him. The same thing happened to Atiku. he handed over ACN to Atiku,
Yes.
to contest election. And when, unfortunately, that's the truth which Tinubu was pointing out, at his that meeting in Abeokuta. The same thing he reciprocated. Again, he provided the platform, supported that platform for Buhari to emerge. Oh, and when you look at all that, without demanding for anything in return, and the only thing he asked for at that point in time was vice presidency, that was also denied him. He took it, like a good sportsman, and then moved on. So many people saw the fact that he is able to provide the necessary leadership needed in the country beyond personal interest, unify the country and provide, good governance for the country. I think that is why you have 13 northern governors rooting for him.
Okay. We have to leave it here now. It's a discussion we're going to take further because every day with all of the permutation and outcomes, it takes us to new levels and new information and new strategies and so on. Thank you very much, Biodun Sholmi, for
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.